Welcome to Programming Unscripted. Today we're going to be going over the setup of a highly available K3s local setup, and this is going to be done with Multipass. You can do this either on Mac or Windows. It's up to you. For this example, I am on a Mac OS, as you can see, so we'll be doing it here. So with that, let me go over briefly the architecture that we're striving for. So as you can see here, let's imagine we have some application, let's say it's Python, and we have users that want to interact with it. So the first gate here is the load balancer, which is going to then communicate with our master nodes in Kubernetes. From there, depending on the master that's being used, we'll then interact with another set of load balancers, which will redirect it to the appropriate worker node. The worker node is what's going to actually house our application, our Python application. So that's high level what we're trying to implement here, and we're going to see how to do that with Multipass. Alright, so let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to build out, let me actually create a folder here. Let's call it K3s local. So the first file that we're going to build is let's build our VMs. So what is that going to look like? So I'm going to create a file called 01 build VMs. All right. And again, as a prerequisite, you need to make sure you have Multipass installed. So for me, Multipass is located here. I also have an alias for it, MP, which will be a little bit easier to type. So, all right, let's get to building out the file. In here, we're gonna do a Multipass MP launch Jammy, which is a version of Ubuntu. And we'll call this one K3s controller 1. We'll just give it 4 CPUs, 248 memory, 2048 disk, 8 gigs. More than enough. So a little bit about this is just the name of our virtual machine that we can access later. So I'm going to copy this because we need 3 master nodes. Alright, so those are our master nodes. The next thing we're going to create is going to be the worker nodes, which again we have 3 of those. And lastly, we'll create the load balancers. So we have 3 of them, if you recall, the first one between the user and the master, then the other ones between the master and the worker nodes. So let's create those. All right, so we have all our virtual machines set up. So let's go ahead and try to execute the script. Here we go. So we'll give this a minute. I'll probably fast forward here, but it's should be building out all the VMs. I'll show the results at the end of this. Okay, so it looks like we finished, so we can check by doing a multipass list. And yes, so all our VMs are running. We get an address assigned to us. This is the correct Ubuntu version. Everything looks pretty good here, so pretty quick to set that up. One thing I will add is a teardown script, which will delete and purge all these VMs after we're done experimenting. So this one is pretty simple. So it's simply a multipass delete. You can pass all, and then multipass purge to make sure it's removed. I'm not going to call it now since we're still going to be building things. But let's take a look at one of these. So you can shell into any of these virtual machines by simply doing a K3s shell K3s controller for the master one. So let's see what it looks like. So here we go. We're inside, and exactly what you expect in Ubuntu. So that's it. Let me exit. And let's go on to the next step. So the next step is going to be setting up our controller, or aka master, the master nodes. So let's get into it. Alright, so taking a look at the K3s docs, we see just the install script, which is like super simple, and also how we can get the URL and token. So we have all the information needed here. What we're gonna do is just build this out in a script, automate this somewhat so that we can not only build one master but all three of our master nodes. So let's get to it. So this script, let's call it 02 setup controller. And so I wanna write down what we're gonna be doing here. So let's leave some comments. Let's say for installation, or let's say this script installs all master nodes. And also, like I mentioned, we're going to be using HA proxy. So let me make a note of that. So we need to disable what comes out of the box, which is traffic, and use HA proxy. So that should be it. Okay, fair enough. So let's see what we're gonna do now. So let's we want to run this directly on the cluster. The example that I just showed assumes that you're there. So how are we going to do this? We're going to run a multipass command and exec into our K3s controller. And we're going to have a bash command. So essentially we're going to do that curl command. Let me see what it was. This guy right there. So I'm going to copy and paste that from the official docs. And I'm also, as I mentioned, going to disable traffic. disable traffic like that. And to see how to disable traffic, you can go to networking, and it will show you here. You'll pass this flag to disable it. So next thing, so we have one of them built out. So let's do the second step. So in order to create or join the second controller and the third controller to the master cluster, we need a token and we need the IP as reference from the documentation. So I'll just put some helpful echoes here. So we're retrieving token and IP from controller 1. And we'll assign it a variable, and we'll do multipass exec K3s controller 1, do sudo cat. The token is found here. No token. And then I need the IP. Multipass. Grep for that. This will give us the actual IP. And that should be it. Let's test this out. Let's echo our token and echo IP to make sure everything works out fine. Let me make sure I'm in the right folder. Okay, so we'll go ahead and execute the second script here. So the goal here is to get the token and the IP after a successful initialization of our first master node. Okay, so we did get the IP, but not the token. I might have misspelled something here. Let me take a look. So I had an incorrect option here. Need to update this. Let's try again. Okay, so now it looks like it's actually doing something. So we're installing K3s on this machine. There is the token and there is the IP, so we have both of them. So it looks pretty good. What if I ran this again? So it doesn't look like it crashes anything, so we're pretty good. We can continue here. Let's go on and build the remaining 2 master nodes, and then we'll stop here, and then we'll just verify that the controllers are up with a few commands, and you know, we're looking good. So let me say, let's do this step, we'll call this step 2. Step 2, I'll call this one Step 1. Building out first controller. Building out second controller. Okay. And we'll do one for third controller as well. So let's do this. This is going to be very similar. The only difference is we got to pass in the token and the IP when we're building out our remaining controllers. So let me also just put a quick sleep here so we can see some of these errors coming back to us. So it's going to be multipass again. Multipass exec K3s controller 2 this time. Bash, and the command is going to be all this part here. But now, as I said, we need to pass in K3s URL, and let me move this to the right. That's going to be the IP on port 6443, which is the Kubernetes port, and the K3s token. That's right. So the K3s token is over here, and I'm just referencing the documentation here on how they do it. Token. And then same thing here, because we want to disable traffic as well, so we'll do the same steps at this point. And that is it for number 2, and we'll sleep. Let me copy this, and we'll just change 2 to 3, and then that is it. Now I want to run an additional step here, so I want to be able to call like kubectl commands once I get in there and not have any issues with certain configs. So this is something that I had to do to be able to set that up. So let's do that here. So I'm going to call this admin config setup, and that's just going to contain a few scripts here to run on the each of these controllers. So one second, let's do this. K3s YAML, and we're gonna put this directly in our cube. K3s config, then chown ubuntu cube K3s config, and then we're gonna put this here. We're simply going to export the cube config every time. Cube config every time at this step here. Okay. So as mentioned before, we need to run this on every machine. So multipass exec K3s controller 1 bash command. That's going to be the admin config setup. Copy this. And that should do it. That should execute that command on every VM. Let me just double check it. I think it looks pretty good. Let's give this a shot and see if we get any errors. So let's take a look. So we're gonna execute script number 2, building out the first controller. This should stay the same. Now we're building out the second controller. Let's see if this joins, which would be because of our IP and the token here. Now starting K3s. Should probably put an echo here at the very end. All right, we're at number 3. Starting K3s. Then we should have ran the script at the end. So let's check if this actually did what we think it did. So let's go ahead and let's list out our environment. We'll jump into one of these boxes now. So let's look at the first one to start off. So np shell K3s. Okay, so let's see what we have in here. Let's see if we have a cube directory. Okay, we have that K3s config. Let's see if we can do a kubectl get nodes command. Awesome. So this is a good sign that I see two of them come back, but let's see what else I can get here. Okay, let me exit here. Let me go to controller 2 and run the same thing. Good. What about node 3? So I think we have an issue here. Maybe we did not join this correctly, because we should have all 3 nodes. Yet this one only recognizes itself. Let's take a look. Let's troubleshoot this together to see if we can find out where we went wrong here. Did I have a typo here? Might have had a typo there. Okay. Well, let's give this a shot. Let's try to run this script again. I think everything else is typed out correctly. Okay, the file exists there, and that's fine. All right, so, oops. go back to controller 1 and see if it's working now. kubectl get nodes A, still 2. So what I might just do for simplicity is remove these controllers, reinitialize them, and check from there. So bear with me. Let's take a look here. So np list. Oops. Let's get out of here. Np list. np delete. We're going to delete all our controller nodes, recreate them. And I'll fast forward through this. I just want to have a fresh environment when I run the installation for the controllers, so bear with me. All right, and we're back. So everything's been kind of reinitialized. Controllers have been rebooted, so we're going to run the script again and see if it works appropriately this time. And again, yeah, I had a typo in there where I just broke out into a new line without escaping. So that won't work. So let's give this a little bit of time, and then we'll test out that kubectl command again. All right, so let's take a look at one of our controllers. Let's do controller 1, kubectl get nodes. All of them should be 3 nodes. Yes, perfect. So that worked as intended. You can also do like get pods, run any kubectl command. A is just saying get everything from every namespace. All namespaces available. But yeah, so this looks pretty good. We'll just go through each one of them just to make sure. But given the first one, you already know that they're communicating together, and it's in a ready state, and it understands it's a control plane, which is like the master in a Kubernetes system. Lastly, controller 3, kubectl get nodes A. Same thing as expected. So we're looking pretty good across the board. And that's going to conclude for this first video. And what we did is initialize right here all our master nodes. The next thing that we're going to tackle is HA proxy, and then we'll take a look at the nodes in upcoming videos. So thanks for sticking around. If this is interesting, definitely click like and subscribe. Also, I'll be releasing the next video within the upcoming week, so be on the lookout for that.